very good. Thank you. All of you, thank you so much. You know I love your work. Kathy Westinger has helped us every year put these on, the memorials where we can get here and remember our friends who are no longer with us. And you guys are just such a blessing. And just thank you for all of the years, all you've done, all your work. Bless you. Thank you. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to say, and I'm not even kidding. Usually I prepare for these things. It's been a crazy year, huh? Crazy last couple of years. COVID, everything we've all gone through. Here we are. I think I'm going to pick up with something that Phil Arnold said about the new FBI and especially the new media. That's something I'm going to be reflecting on now for a very long time. That this things are new now, and they should be. Listen, we have all this technology. We have all these wonders. We have access to every piece of information that's ever been written since the beginning of time. And yet confusion seems to be worse than ever. We don't seem to be analyzing the proper information. We still got the extreme right saying this, the extreme left saying that, and the majority of the people in the center trying to figure out what's true, what's right, what's going on here. I recently read some of the new Waco book, well, 1.5 of the new books that have come out and some of the new information that people are writing. And I'm not impressed. I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name or the gentleman's book, but in one particular book, in the very first chapter, he names an ATF agent whose job it was to go up to the dogs during the initial raid with a fire extinguisher, like you're going to put the dogs out and get the dogs to go back. 30 years later, he, and this is just so irresponsible for journalists, is still using the same propaganda that they used for that terrible movie Ambush at Waco that was made where they go after the dogs with the fire extinguisher. People, let's be real. They came in and they shot the dogs first thing with 5 Alaskan Malamutes in a penned up area. That's how they do it. This is what the militaristic ATF does. They go in and they take the dogs out. Let's not be deceived. Let's not be fooled. You can interview all the ATF and FBI guys you want, all right, as a journalist. If you're going to continue to put in false propaganda, you are the part of the problem in this country. And you're the reason that we are so close to what literally could be a civil war. It's incredibly irresponsible. It lacks any kind of professional merit whatsoever. And it makes me wonder, is that what they want? Is that what you members of the press, do you want a headline that bad where you want fellow Americans to start shooting fellow Americans in the name of an ideology? I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I had a long talk with Paul Fata, one of the survivors, yesterday. We had a dinner. And one of the things we talked about is, in our experience, the people that we have met through it. Guess what? Some of those people were in militias. Some of those people were in civil rights groups, guns rights groups. You name it. I've met the greatest people on the face of the earth, literal angels on this earth, and I've met some devils along the way too. We tend to stay with the angels, hopefully. But the point is this: what the mainstream press, especially back then, no, now too, wants to demonize. They're demonizing your fellow Americans. It's not just the liberal elite that live in New York and LA, guys. There's a whole country. And those are real people. And you know what? They're working 2 jobs to barely get by and get their kids into school, right? And do the right thing as a person, as an American, pay their taxes. And you look down at them because they live in the South, or they think this, or they're simple. I mean, this is a problem that I think highly educated people have, and especially the way it's looked at. And again, you get that demonization. It's like, these are people. As the Davidians were people. The people that died at Mount Carmel were people. They've never been truly humanized until they did the Waco series. And it was the first time I'd ever seen the people inside there humanized. That's all we've ever wanted, was to tell the stories of the people. And that's why these memorials are so special. So you get to see each individual and you get to find out who they really were. I was going to get up here and I was going to talk about some very political things and some of the lies. I think scholars have done that quite well. I want to talk about the people today, because that really is what it's all about, and that's what's going to happen here after this press conference. But I am very concerned, and I just, since the press is here, two things I want to say before I forget. One is there was a recent documentary that's out, and right after that, I'm called a liar by some members of the FBI, which is the same thing they said 20 years ago. People ask me, like, what do you think? The FBI calling you a liar? It's like, I feel it's like that's the master saying, when you can take this pebble from my hand, you can go on about your life. And so, like, I took the pebble out of their hand. Like, they're calling me a liar. These people, and during the 51 days, lied completely to you over and over again. And they started with the dogs. They started with the ambush at Waco, the ATF propaganda film. Make no mistake, that's what it was. They went after those dogs and they shot those dogs. Some of the indications from some of the witnesses that were there, some of the agents actually said, we feel that the first shots were them shooting the dogs. And then they retracted their statement when that came to Congress. Another agent said to the Texas Rangers, I reached for my gun and it went off, and I feel like that was the first shot. Retracted his statement when he had to stand for Congress. So it didn't happen because 10 years passed, or so, however many years. The first thing you tend to say tends to be the truth, right? So anyway, they can say what they want. I don't care what the pressure is. They can call me a liar all they want. I just ask, if you think that you at least read my book. If you don't want to support me, get it from the library. But do a little research, please. Listen to the scholars, listen to the truth, find out that truth for yourself. Don't let Fox News tell you what to think, and don't let MSNBC tell you what to think. They all have agendas. Remember one more thing. It's two more things. It'll probably be three. All of you, all these cameras, and all the people in every newspaper, magazine, and everything you see on television, it's all of the media is controlled by 2 or 3 companies. I think it's 2 now, could be 3. So let's say it's 3 companies. 3 companies control everything that we digest. That's power. That's power. And it's a powerful thought, and I want you all to think about that. So I learned more about America going overseas than I have being here. We think we have freedom of the press. We think we got a pretty good beat on things. We don't, guys. You got to spend a lot of time doing a lot of research to really see what's happening here. That's what I'm saying. Don't be deceived. Okay?
Can I say something?
Yes. Thank you. God, thank you.
I was in the courtroom in 2000 when the civil trial took place. The Branch Davidian survivors and their families brought suit against the government for wrongful death. An ATF agent was called to the stand, and under oath, he was part of the dog team, and he admitted that they fired first. They killed the dogs first. The first shots fired at Mount Carmel was the ATF dog team. Under oath, he said that. I heard it, so I just couldn't let the rest.
And here's why that's important. I know a lot of people that are on Team Puppy rather than Team Human. Seriously. I know a lot of people that would die for their pets, for their animals. And I understand it. Your pets, your dogs, your cats, they're members of your family. And imagine you just finished breakfast and some guy dressed in a black outfit comes with a gun and shoots that member of your family. How is that going to start your day off? What kind of reaction are you as a person going to give to that person trying to come through your door? It's not a very good way to start a communication, especially with a group of people who you claim are fanatical and have a lot of firearms. One more, this got to be a couple points. But when we were talking about the psyops, when Stuart was talking about the psyops and the speaker systems and the sound systems that they set up during the siege where they're trying to keep us up 24/7, that's very powerful. Having no sleep, right? Looking at that speaker and thinking, I would love to shoot that speaker out, to shut that up right now. But then not doing it because you know that's gonna give them an excuse to do what they really want, come in and shoot you. So nobody, I wanna say, nobody inside that building, despite being harassed consistently, day in, day out, shot at those speakers. We didn't do anything aggressive. At every single step of this, the government were the aggressors. Coming in, they were invited onto the property through David to check all of the yellow sheets for Henry McMahon. But he invited the ATF onto the property. All could have been avoided, absolutely. Came in shooting the dogs. The helicopters at the back were shooting. I know every agent says the helicopters were not firing, but there were people, I believe that there were agents on the helicopter that were. I saw the evidence of it in one of the water tanks that was in front of Winston Blake's door. Winston Blake was killed, eating his breakfast. We know Peter Gent. There's a video. I think it's on Waco New Revelation. I'll have to check that. He goes up. You see a helicopter fly by the water tank. You see a figure come up on the top of the water tank and then fall right back down as if he's been shot. It appears that is from the air. There is an ATF agent who says that he saw Peter come up and shot him from the ground. That's his testimony. Call anyone a liar, it could be true. But I believe that those helicopters fired into the building. I saw the evidence in the sheetrock, in the ceiling, and the roof. I saw the evidence in the water tank. And I'll never forget Kevin Whitecliff coming up to me that morning after the ceasefire, yelling and screaming. They came in shooting. I said, yeah, it all started from the front. That's what it sounded like to me being in the cafeteria. Kevin was out the back, and Kevin said, no, and he's screaming and yelling it very passionately. This is not someone who was lying to me. He says, no, the helicopters came in shooting. I saw them coming and shoot at us. And I'm like, what do you do? From the back? He said, yes. So he was adamant that helicopters were coming and shooting from the back. They still claim the helicopters weren't shooting. I just don't believe it. I guess, yeah, one more thing, and then I got one more. And I just want to talk about the pyrotechnic devices. The FBI claims that these pyrotechnic devices were all used in the underground shelter. Here's the problem I have with that. But why'd you lie about it for 3 years? 3 years the FBI said consistently no pyrotechnic devices were used in that building. That the CS gas canisters and rounds that were used were non-pyrotechnic, non-lethal. Well, we know CS gas, the methylene chloride is the propellant for the CS gas, so methylene chloride is something that's used in paint thinner. So I'm not a scientist, I don't know technically how flammable or not flammable methylene chloride is, but I suspect there. But for sure, the 6 or 7 devices that were mislabeled as silencers were pyrotechnic. They absolutely could start fires. So you could tell me they were using the underground shelter, but I just don't believe you. You've lost your credibility with me. For 3 years you said there were no pyrotechnics used in that building at all, and yet here they are. So yeah, the title of this was 30 Years On, What Have We Learned from Waco? Well, for me, these same questions that I continue to bring up have not been answered properly. And every single documentary out there gets it wrong, especially some of the newer ones. 30 years later, they can't include all of the facts that these scholars have talked about, that we've put together forever, that we know are true. We know all these things happened. And you still don't have a definitive documentary that shows exactly what happened on both sides. And mistakes were made on both sides. Okay, Koresh is no saint. And I'm not sitting here trying to glorify anyone, and I'm not trying to say that mistakes, terrible mistakes weren't made on both sides, because they were. But it's time to start thinking clearly and rationing the truth for what it is. And that's it. I would just like to see all of these things come out. And the new media, I love that, because it is. You guys are in a new place, even though you're, how do you say this tactfully? Even though you have a corporate master that whips you all into shape, you still have a certain amount of power. There are things you can say. You can still be a brave journalist. Hey man, there's YouTube, there's all kinds of avenues to get around this. And that's what they're afraid of. We no longer watch ABC, NBC, and CBS for all our news. There's Breaking Points, which I highly recommend anyone on YouTube who has this amazing news show. There's just There's people that are trying to do it right. Those are the people we need to listen to. Thank you. I will conclude my portion of this thing, whatever you want to call it.